He was born inside a tower. He didn't come from the bottom. He didn't start life penniless, searching for an opportunity. He started within a ready-made network of money and power. And yet, he wasn't content with being the son of a rich man. He wanted to be a name, a brand, a phenomenon. From Manhattan to the White House, from a television program to the most powerful position in the world, a man who said he would make America great again, and made it more divided than it has been in decades. Is he a product of the system, or its greatest flaw? Is he a media genius who understood the game, or simply a reflection of popular anger? He was searching for a voice. This isn't the story of a poor man rising to the top. This is the story of a man born within the system, and then shaking it from within. And that's where the story begins. Father Fred Trump was a successful real estate developer in Brooklyn and Queens. He specialized in building housing for the middle class. He benefited from government-subsidized housing programs after World War II. He was very strict with his sons. He believed in competition, discipline, and profit above all else. Mother Mary Ann MacLeod Trump, immigrant from Scotland. She came to America in the 1930s. Her background was modest compared to the family's later wealth. She was socially and religiously conservative. Trump was born in 1946 in Queens, New York. The neighborhood wasn't poor, but it wasn't Manhattan's elite either. The family was white, from the rising upper class. A culture of success linked to real estate and power. A conservative environment that leaned towards traditional values. A strong emphasis on social image and status. Donald Trump's primary education: he began his education in Queens. He attended Q Forest School, a private school in the Forest Hills neighborhood of Queens. A relatively small educational environment. Most students came from well-off families. Traditional, classical education, discipline, rules, and competition. He wasn't in a typical public school. From the beginning, he was in a relatively private environment. What characterized this period? Reports and testimonies from former teachers indicate that he was strong-willed and dominant among his peers. Tends to be challenging and confrontational. Has high energy and impulsive behavior. His father didn't approve of this path. He didn't want a troublemaker son, but rather a disciplined heir. The turning point came at age 13. Due to his confrontational behavior, his father sent him to New York Military Academy. Here, his civilian childhood ended, and the era of military discipline began. The primary environment didn't mold him politically, but it revealed an early pattern: a love of control, a fierce competitive spirit, a sensitivity to prestige and status. The formative years of Donald Trump began at the military academy, where discipline and ambition were forged. At the New York Military Academy, he became a captain of cadets. He excelled in sports and leadership. He learned hierarchy and dominance within a clear system. Here, the idea crystallized: the world is a competitive arena, and those who don't assert themselves are marginalized. Donald Trump's college education: first stage. Fordham University, 1964-1966. He enrolled in 1964 after graduating from the military academy. He spent only 2 years there. There are no reports of exceptional academic activity. He was not known as a political student or campus leader. Why Fordham? It's not one of the top-tier universities, but it's a respected Catholic institution in New York. It seems to have been a stepping stone before he took his ambitions to a higher level. Second stage. Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania, 1966-1968. He transferred in 1966. He graduated in 1968. He majored in economics. Wharton was one of the few schools at the time that offered a formal focus on real estate. And here's an important point. There is no documented evidence that he graduated with first-class honors or was among the top students. The university itself does not publish student transcripts for legal reasons. What does this mean? He wasn't a renowned academic genius, but his choice of warden was very pragmatic. He wanted to understand money and real estate, not philosophy or politics. The Vietnam War and the Trump file. This is a point that would later be used against him politically. The Vietnam War, 1955-1975, required the mandatory draft of young American men through a lottery system. In the late 1960s, most college-aged men were subject to draft. What exactly happened to him? Between 1964 and 1968, his college years, he received 4 student deferments because he was a college student. After graduating in 1968, he received a permanent medical deferment. The stated medical reason: bone spurs, bony growths in the feet. This medical exemption gave him a classification that prevented him from military service. Was this legal? Yes. Student and medical deferments were perfectly legal at the time. But the controversy isn't legal, it's ethical, political. Where did the controversy begin? During his 2016 presidential campaign, he criticized some veterans. He attacked prisoners of war, referring to John McCain. Here, the media raised the question again: how can he attack those who served, when he didn't? The issue of bone spurs. In later reports, New York Times 2018, the doctor who granted him the exemption was Trump's family physician. Allegations emerged that the diagnosis may have facilitated the exemption. But there is no conclusive official evidence of falsification. And there is no detailed medical report published for the public. The truth is that he used available laws to avoid service. He wasn't an exception. Many from affluent backgrounds did the same. But his subsequent political rhetoric brought the issue back into sharp focus. This event highlights a significant contradiction: a man who embraces the rhetoric of military power, but never personally experienced war. Is this hypocrisy, or is it the pragmatism of a man who sees heroism not in sacrifice but in victory? Donald Trump's entry into the business world. This is where the persona the world knows begins. Not Trump the politician, but Trump the dealmaker. The beginning. Inside the family business, 1968. After graduating from Wharton School, he returned directly to his father's company, Elizabeth Trump & Son. Its primary business was middle-class housing in Brooklyn and Queens. It relied in part on government housing subsidies. Stable profits, but without media attention. Here was the first important psychological decision. He didn't want to remain in the safe shadow. He wanted to take risks and be in the spotlight. Moving to Manhattan, the big gamble. In the 1970s, New York was experiencing a severe financial crisis. Many investors fled, and he saw an opportunity. His first major deal: transforming the neglected Commodore Hotel into a luxury hotel. He partnered with the Hyatt chain and reopened it as the Grand Hyatt in 1980. How did the deal succeed? He obtained huge tax breaks from the city of New York. And he used political connections. He convinced investors to finance the project. This moment cemented his name in Manhattan. Then, his personal brand was forged in the 1980s. He wasn't just selling real estate, he was selling Trump. Prominent project. Trump Tower opened 1983, a luxury tower on Fifth Avenue. Luxury apartments, offices, and shops. A dazzling design reflecting his philosophy: luxury and power. From here, he began appearing regularly in the media. He transformed into a public figure, not just a real estate developer. And he began his excessive expansion into casinos and debt. In the late 1980s, he expanded into Atlantic City. He bought massive casinos. He used enormous debt to finance the expansion. Then the crisis of the early 1990s hit. Several companies associated with him declared bankruptcy, but not his personal bankruptcy. His entry into the business world wasn't a story of quiet rise. It was a story of high-stakes risk, massive debt, and a deliberate media hype. He understood early on, value isn't just in assets. Value is in the name, and the buzz. And here's the question. Do you see Trump as a man who cleverly exploited crises? Or as a man who risked his lenders' money and built his fortune on debt? Donald Trump's first major financial collapse. Here begins the moment that nearly ended the legend, before it even began politically. In the late 1980s, Trump was expanding at a breakneck pace. Casinos in Atlantic City, luxury hotels, a short-lived airline, Trump Shuttle, purchase of the luxury yacht, Trump Princess, massive real estate investments financed by enormous debt. The problem, most of it was financed by loans. Atlantic City, the bet that backfired. His most famous project, Trump Taj Mahal, opened in 1990, described as the eighth wonder of the world. A colossal construction cost, exorbitant interest rates. Just months later, the United States entered a recession. The result? A drop in casino revenue, inability to repay loan interest, billions of dollars in personal debt. In the years 1991–1992. The official collapse. The Trump Taj Mahal Company declared bankruptcy. Other casinos followed suit. Hotels underwent restructuring. It's crucial to understand that he didn't personally declare bankruptcy. Rather, his companies restructured under commercial bankruptcy laws. This is a fundamental legal distinction. And the most dangerous moment. According to press reports, he personally owed over $900 million. Banks feared his collapse because he was too big to fail. They restructured his debts instead of writing them off entirely. In other words, the financial system saved him because he was part of it. This stage reveals three things: his heavy reliance on debt, his willingness to take extreme risks, his ability to negotiate under pressure. The fundamental question: did he survive because he was a master negotiator? Or because he was protected within a financial network that prevented his downfall? This moment is the true turning point. Had he not survived here, the world would never have known him politically. If we want to understand the collapse, we must understand why the banks didn't let him fall. Here we enter the realm of real capitalism, not rhetoric. How did the banks save Donald Trump in the early 1990s? Between 1990 and 1992, personal debt was estimated at over $900 million. His company's debts exceeded $3 billion. An economic recession hit real estate and casinos. Atlantic City projects were hemorrhaging money. Any ordinary investor would have been finished. The biggest problem: casinos. The most troubled project, Trump Taj Mahal, opened in 1990 with massive debt and high interest rates. Less than a year later, it entered Chapter 11 restructuring. Why didn't the banks close the door on him? He was too big to fail for them. If he had declared bankruptcy, the banks would have incurred immediate losses of hundreds of millions. The value of the real estate associated with his name would have collapsed. This would create panic in an already struggling real estate market. So the banks decided to restructure the debts instead of liquidating him. His reputation was a financial asset. In the 1980s, his name was a huge brand. Even in the crisis, he still attracted investors and the media. The banks bet that his public image could restore cash flow. According to the New York Times, he negotiated for hours with creditors. Before relinquishing some assets, he temporarily reduced his lifestyle. He sold his private jet and luxury yacht. What actually happened? His debts were reduced. He obtained more favorable repayment schedules. He relinquished stakes in some projects. He emerged from the crisis weaker, but not wiped out. The uncomfortable truth: he wasn't a go-it-all. Nor was he a ruiner who miraculously saved himself. He was part of a financial network that didn't want to lose him. The regime did not bring him down, because if he did, part of the regime would fall with him. Trump didn't start a major conventional war. He didn't launch a large-scale invasion like George W. Bush's in Iraq, or a new all-out escalation in Afghanistan. But he wasn't a peace president, in the simplest sense. In Syria, in 2017 and 2018, he ordered missile strikes against Bashar al-Assad's regime after accusations of chemical weapons use. He later announced a partial troop withdrawal. This decision sparked considerable controversy in Washington. It wasn't a new war, but a direct military intervention. In Iraq, operations against ISIS continued. In 2020, he ordered the assassination of Iranian Quds Force commander Qasem Soleimani. The strike took place in Baghdad. This event nearly ignited a direct confrontation with Iran. In Afghanistan, he negotiated with the Taliban and signed the Doha Agreement in 2020. This agreement paved the way for a later U.S. withdrawal, which occurred under Biden. Was this the end of a war, or the handover of a complex issue without guarantees? He also supported the Saudi-led coalition for years. He vetoed a congressional resolution to halt military aid. This means that Trump was not inclined towards long, costly wars. He preferred swift strikes, demonstrations of force, economic pressure, sanctions, trade wars instead of military ones. Example: the trade war with China, where he imposed broad tariffs on China. This was not a military war, but it was a global economic conflict. In conclusion, he did not start a new major ground war. He used military force several times. He escalated tensions with Iran. He entered into a trade war with China. Trump won the presidential election twice. In the 2016 election, he won against Hillary Clinton, lost the popular vote. He won the Electoral College. He became the 45th President of the United States. This is a crucial point. In the American system, victory is determined by the Electoral College, not the popular vote. In the 2020 election, he lost against Joe Biden, lost the popular vote. He lost the Electoral College. He attempted to challenge the results. His term ended in January 2021. In the 2024 election, he won. He ran again. He won and became president again in 2025. He thus became the second president in American history to serve 2 non-consecutive terms, after Grover Cleveland. Donald Trump's family. Trump has been married 3 times and has 5 children. First wife: Ivana Trump, married in 1977, divorced in 1992. She was a business partner in some of his ventures. She played a managerial role within his companies. They had 3 children. Second wife: Marla Maples, married in 1993, divorced in 1999. They had 1 daughter. The relationship received extensive media coverage due to the scandal surrounding the divorce from Ivana. Current wife: Melania Trump, married in 2005. She is a former model from Slovenia. She served as First Lady from 2017 to 2021 and again until 2025. They have 1 son. Trump's 5 children: Donald Trump Jr. From his first wife, he is an executive vice president at the Trump Organization. He is a powerful and influential political activist within the conservative base. Ivanka Trump too played an official role as an advisor in the White House. A more moderate image than her father. She later withdrew relatively from politics. Eric Trump III manages projects within the Trump Organization. Less politically active than his older brother. Tiffany Trump IV from Trump's second wife has a limited political media presence. Barron Trump V, the youngest son, still uninvolved in politics. The Trump family is not just background information, it's part of the brand. The older children are part of the economic system. Some have become politically active. The family has been used to promote the image of a family empire. But also, the first divorce was a major scandal in the 1990s. Family relationships have sometimes been reflected in public debates. The presence of family members in official roles has sparked accusations of nepotism. The role of the media in the making of the phenomenon Donald Trump before politics, a man who knew the camera in the 1980s and 1990s. He was a regular guest on television programs. He appeared in films and series, short cameos. He used the tabloid press in New York to create the image of a bold billionaire. He didn't hate the media, he understood it. And the pivotal moment, The Apprentice, started in 2004 on NBC. He presented himself as a man of decisiveness and authority. The phrase, "You're fired," became part of popular culture. This program rebuilt his image after the crises of the 1990s. And here's an important point. Many Americans first knew him as a television personality, not as a real estate developer. He used Twitter as a political weapon. He used it directly without media filtering. He bypassed traditional journalism. He created a direct relationship with his base. His account was banned after the events of January 6th, then later reinstated. Here, he created a new model for the politician, a president who speaks like an activist. Second, scandals, did they weaken or strengthen him? Let's not be superficial. There were many scandals, but their impact varied. First, the Access Hollywood scandal, 2016. An old audio recording surfaced in which he spoke about women in a derogatory manner. It shook his presidential campaign, but it didn't prevent him from winning. The question is, why didn't a scandal like this bring him down? Second, the Russia investigation. An investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. The Mueller report did not establish a direct criminal conspiracy, but it didn't completely exonerate him politically either. The result? A deeper division in public opinion. Third, 2 impeachment attempts. 2019, the Ukraine affair. 2021, the events of January 6th. He was not convicted by the Senate in either case. Fourth, legal issues after his presidency. Financial issues, election-related issues, criminal charges in New York and Georgia. Some led to convictions, while others remain in dispute. Most politicians see their careers collapse with a single scandal. With Trump, however, the opposite sometimes happened. Every attack strengthened his base. Every investigation presented him as a victim of the establishment. Controversy became part of his political identity. Tax reform in 2017. His most significant domestic legislative achievement, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, significantly reduced corporate taxes. It sparked controversy over the fact that the wealthy benefited more than the middle class. Its economic impact continues to this day. In the Supreme Court, he appointed 3 justices to the Supreme Court of the United States. This shifted the ideological balance for decades. This had a direct impact later on major decisions such as the overturning of Roe v. Wade. This is a huge strategic point, not a minor detail. Immigration and the border wall. He promised to build a wall on the Mexican border and imposed restrictions on entry from certain countries. His policy of separating migrant families sparked global controversy. This is a pivotal issue for his electoral base. COVID-19, a global pandemic, struck during his presidency. His handling of the crisis was criticized. Operation Warp Speed for vaccine development. A huge economic and social impact. And unconventional international relations. His relationship with Vladimir Putin, his meetings with Kim Jong-un. Was it bold diplomacy? Or a disruption of traditional alliances? January 6th is a standalone chapter. Raid, United States Capitol. This is not just an event, it is a watershed moment in assessing his political legacy. Since entering politics in 2015, Trump has been a love or hate figure. His supporters see him as outspoken, unconstrained by the elite, and a champion of national identity. His opponents see him as reckless, divisive, and a threat to democratic norms. Second, how do his supporters view him? His core base includes the white working class, social conservatives, rural communities and residents of former industrial states, a significant percentage of evangelicals. They see him as a man who speaks without restraint, anti-illegal immigration, restoring national pride, confronting China on trade, unbowed by bureaucracy. His media attacks are seen as a sign of strength, not weakness. Third, how do his opponents view him? His opponents include young people, racial minorities with increasing exceptions, major cities, college-educated individuals. They see him as weakening democratic norms, using divisive rhetoric, conducting politics through confrontation, not institutions. His style is more important to him than stability. What has changed over time? Even after losing the 2020 election, he remains the most influential figure within the Republican Party. This is very important. Notably, a significant percentage of Republicans believe the 2020 election was unfair. Conversely, a majority of Democrats believe his post-election behavior is dangerous. This reflects a deep crisis of confidence in institutions. What about independents? Independents are the battleground. They tend to evaluate him based on the economic situation. Their support declined during the COVID-19 pandemic. Some return to him when the economy or immigration is at the forefront of their concerns. Trump is not just a political figure, he is a test of America's economic and cultural anxieties. Was Trump the cause of the division, or its consequence? Did he change America, or did he reveal what it was hiding? Will he be remembered as a president who broke the rules of the game, or as one who completely redefined it? During his presidency, the economy changed, the Supreme Court changed, the Republican Party changed, and the very discourse of politics changed. But the biggest question remains unanswered. Was what happened a passing phase in the history of the United States, or the beginning of a long transformation in the nature of American democracy? Was America First just an election slogan, or a political philosophy that will endure? And was the problem with the man, or with the historical moment that produced him? Perhaps the answer doesn't lie with Trump alone, but with the America that chose him, and the America that rejected him, and the America that remains divided over him. And the question that will remain open, is the Trump phenomenon over? Or is it only just beginning?